Groove City.
Hey, what's up? I'm Lefty.
And I'm Rich Furniss, and welcome to another episode of Groove City.
That's right. We are very excited to bring a special guest and a personal longtime friend of my own here to the podcast. Please welcome head of Toucan Sounds, part of U2 Ken Wu, French Horn Rebellion. Please welcome Robert PM.
Woo!
Thank you. Thank you.
What an intro.
Lots of lists. Lots of lists.
I'm a multi-hyphenate.
AKA Robert Perlich Molinari.
I have a hyphenated last name.
I know.
And so I think that was part of why I'm a multi-hyphenate now.
But Robert PM is good. I like it.
Yeah,
Right?
it's catchy.
It's catchy. It's my real name.
Yeah.
It's not a catch. There is no catch.
There's no catch.
It is Robert PM.
But it's Robert of the Night.
It's because when we were in high school, like, they used to call my brother Nighttime Dave
Really?
because he was David PM. So that always stuck with me.
Whoa.
Oh, that's a good one,
I like
actually.
that. When you actually first told me Robert PM, I was like, oh my gosh, that's really good. I didn't even think about that. You're like,
It's my name, you know.
yeah.
So,
Robert, David Nighttime?
Nighttime Dave.
Nighttime Dave.
They also used to call him I got lots of funny stories on my brother. But
Nice.
I don't
Well,
have to
we got
tell
about
everybody.
20 minutes to hear all of them. But we'll definitely have to talk about him because you guys do a lot of stuff together, which is exciting.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And there's a lot to unpack here. So let's dive into some young Robert and kind of get the backstory.
Yeah, what's going on here? Okay, so here's what's happening is that I'm working out of this music studio. It's called U2 Ken Wu, and the studio is a beautiful family-run business, as in me, my brother, my sister-in-law, her brother, and a few like longtime family friends. And they, make this music studio. It's a, beautiful space in Williamsburg, so on and so forth.
It is very nice.
It's a nice studio. We do music that our philosophy is doing like short-term projects versus long-term projects. Short-term projects are things that pay the bills. Long-term projects are things that we want to do and that we love to do.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you
Good
guys
to have
do
a healthy blend.
yeah, so the philosophy is to sort of have a healthy blend, and so my role at the company is to bring in stuff that's like more in the music, long-term sort of investment stuff, like amazing artists in the city, amazing co-writes, bringing in awesome artists from around the world into the space. And so because we had so many artists and so much going on, we were like, let's make a label because so we can release our own stuff. So,
Yeah.
and then the label's called Toucan Sounds.
Yes. So U2 Ken Wu is the home base of the production side, the studio, and you guys do all sorts of stuff from video game music composition, sync and licensing music
Yeah,
for
yeah.
commercials and movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then also producing artists and regular studio stuff. And you guys
Yeah.
have some slamming parties.
We got parties.
Yeah,
We've been
the
throwing
parties are fun.
parties.
I can always appreciate the food spread too, which is
A
always
little
really
food spread. But we just had an amazing
Of course,
party at
Shefty.
Jolene in Brooklyn, which was really fun.
That looked awesome.
That was really
yeah,
good. Yeah.
this guy Glenn Underground came through, and he's somebody that, one of the founders of not founders, but just I guess inventors of the deep house genre, or at least he's been described this way. And he's got a whole huge catalog of amazing music for 30 years, I think 40 years or something.
Nice.
Super nice guy, and it was fun to collaborate with him. So that's like one of those things where a lot of these places intersect, where he came out from Chicago, he came in to make music at the studio, collaborate with some of our folks. So he collaborated with D Diggs, who's an artist that we've released on the label and also co-written with, who's doing like amazing things. And so they had a collaboration, which was really cool. We brought in my buddy Doc, Pink Flamingo with the review,
course.
who Lefty's collaborated with,
Yes.
to fill in on some guitars.
Dope.
And then there was this amazing track made over the weekend, and he came out for the party.
That's
Amazing.
awesome.
So it was
Very
really cool.
It's a pretty intricate and diverse world that you live in with all these things together. Is this kind of the roadmap you thought that you would move into?
Well, I think, yeah, so this is an interesting question because I think there is definitely, I am an artist now as
Sure,
RPM,
that's how I became familiar with
and French Horn Rebellion is my brother and I as a band.
Yeah.
And for almost 10 years, I was just doing French Horn Rebellion, and that's it. I was just 100% focused on my art and my project and where we were going on tour, who was our booking agent, who was our publicist, all that kind of stuff. How are we going to get to the next level?
Yeah.
So I think ultimately I was just feeling like I was constantly living in a karmic imbalance where it's always about me. It's like my talent.
Yeah,
my
yeah.
talent is incredible. I'm gonna be #1 on this or that. Why am I not the picture of new disco or the picture of this Spotify playlist? Why am I only the 10th track down or this and that? It's always like, like yelling at other people about this.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I just kind of felt like the balance of the universe was way off for me, and like I needed to give and get, be there for others and do that project as I've done with Lefty, of course. Like we've collaborated and I've also released music for you.
That's true, yeah.
And but then also the flip side, where I have music that's released on other labels. So it's just a bit more. That I think like from an emotional place, that's sort of how this ended up happening. But from a business standpoint, as far as like why do these choices and why make these choices, it's because we had this incredible asset, which is the space. Like our studio is incredible. In fact, the big news that we have right now is that we're building currently a space that's 4 times bigger than our current space.
I heard a little bit about this. Yeah.
So it's an extremely ambitious project.
I'm excited to see it when it's done because I got to see when it was all demolished on the inside.
It's like still in demolishment zone, which
Yeah.
is scary because we're going to be transitioning to the new space very soon.
Yeah.
To do these things in New York, it's like when Elsewhere was being built. Like the guys Jake and Rami, they had they were doing Pop Gun. They took over Glasslands, which was a venue down in Williamsburg. For those that don't know,
Yeah.
For those new listeners out there, I don't know. But anyways, so like there was that transitionary period where they were booking all these shows all over town, and I'd see Jake and Ryan be like, "So when's the new place gonna be done?" And it felt like it took like 3 or 4 years or something. And now I know exactly
The pain they
how
went
they
through.
feel.
Yeah.
It takes forever.
Damn, man. I
And
bet.
like you just tell people about it, like this is the digital rendering, like this
Yeah.
is what it's gonna look like. But
I mean, it's good that you guys are doing it, though. I feel like there's a lot that come out of that type of community and having a lot of different avenues. I like the fact that you also look at it, too, from these long-term and short-term projects, right? Certain things are to pay the bills immediately. Other things are like long-term or passion projects, but could fulfill into something else,
Yeah.
Having that balance, I think, is important.
that's the goal. I mean, this right now this is like an independently funded and totally independent thing. Like we've never been a part of a bigger label, a major label. We've never been a part of like a bigger brand agency or advertising agency. Like all the gigs that we've gotten are all independent. So it's like to do this project right now is, it was a natural progression for us to get out of our current space, which is an amazing space. But the new space is 4 times bigger.
Yeah. More possibilities, baby.
It's true.
More
Bigger
possibilities.
parties in the studio. No, I'm just kidding.
I seriously, like the basement, so the 2-floor, the new spot's gonna have 2 floors, and the basement will be available for showcases. There's
Yeah,
gonna be a
that's dope.
performance room in the basement.
That's kind of, what's that label? They're in Soho. They have a similar situation. XL Records, Matador. I forget who owns that.
Matador was down in Soho.
Beggars Group. That's kind of like what their space is
Yeah,
like. They have the
yeah.
whole amphitheater in the basement floor, with then a recording studio, and then upstairs, kind of like the offices and
Yeah.
studios and stuff.
Except for we're all studios, baby.
Yeah, bam.
Nice.
So we know where you're at now, and I became familiar with you from French Horn Rebellion back in like my Bloghouse era days and all that.
Hey.
And how did your progression in music start? Because that's with your brother, obviously. Did you guys kind of start that just as like a thing for you to do as brothers, or did you guys kind of know like what your goal was with that?
Yeah, well, I think it started as like a hobby and as a passion for fun. I mean, like when we were, kids, I mean, must have been 7 or 8 years old. I remember for Christmas, my mom got us the first Imagic, like Logic Imagic, whatever, the first version of Logic, basically.
Yeah.
And it was for like an Apple II GS or something. And we had like this little consumer Yamaha keyboard, but we figured out how to do general MIDI on it. And then we would do like arrangements on our computer of like for MIDI.
Yeah.
And like, like in high school, like we got a cool keyboard. We got a Kurzweil keyboard in high school, was huge, oh my gosh, this is the best piece of gear ever. And we did full like orchestrations, like I did an orchestration of like Out There from the Notre Dame, Humpback of Notre Dame,
Nice.
all orchestral stuff.
Yeah.
Like, trying to build, just for fun, like as a hobby, I guess. And then, so I went to school for classical music.
I was going to
Yeah.
include that in your intro that you were classically trained, which I forgot to do.
Yeah, because this guy's on the classically trained record.
That's right.
You know, that's right. That's right. So, anyways, yeah. So I went to college to study French horn performance, and that was really fun. And the summer after my freshman year of college, I went to intern for my brother. He was at the time got a job right out of NYU, right out of school, to work at a music studio that was doing mostly ad work. And he would do like fun projects at night, just kind of like a similar thing, where like during the day doing the ad work, at night bringing in friends and family and people to make music
Jam,
with
yeah.
and jam. So it just so happens that summer, that summer that I came, MGMT was one of those people, which is like totally crazy. At the time, everybody knew they were going to be something,
Yeah.
and they had really fun songs. And then that was a summer that he mostly, but I was assistant, produced this record that's called the Time to Pretend EP, which was before they got signed to the major label system. And that opened a lot of doors for us, obviously. But when I got back to school in classical French horn, I was like, this is not it. Like, don't really want to do classical music anymore. I want to be.
I want to do this stuff
I
over
wanna do
here.
this stuff. Yeah. And like,
How do you take the French horn out of the pit
Yeah.
and onto the stage?
yeah, out of the pit, onto the stage, and like that summer that I was at that studio. Okay, like when I was a classical horn player at school, I was under the assumption, because the professors that were there, they had grown up in the 70s and 80s. I was under the assumption that there's work for horn players like in the studio.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, oh, maybe when I graduate, I'll be
will
a
be my
French
path.
horn player. Like, I'll be one of those hired horn players that'll play on a lot of studio gigs, And I worked at that studio for the whole summer, and there was not one instrumentalist that was brought in. And in fact,
So a little bit of a hard wake-up call.
yeah. And then not only that, but there was these things called these Akai sampler CDs, like Akai sampler packs, where there was like, it was like an old school, it was MPC,
Yeah.
and you would put a CD-ROM in it, and then all the samples would be on the CD-ROM.
Yeah.
And there was this thing where you could convert it into the EXS, like the Logic sampler
Yeah.
back in the day. Okay, so my summer intern project was to take all the stack of CDs and to get them to
And
work.
convert them.
Okay, and then, so there was one disc that was like classical motifs or something like this, like, and one of the samples that was just the free sample was one of the most difficult horn excerpts that you can possibly play.
And you're like, uh-oh.
I was like, this is the Brandenburg Concerto. This is like one of the hardest things ever you could play on horn, and it's for free, and I can use this on any recording that I want. It's like, what is the value of playing horn? It's like, not much, clearly.
Yeah.
So, that was French horn. It was good though and like, like at that time, when I was in college, for whatever reason, I was able to test out of a lot of the classes, and I don't know how or why, but that's what happened. And so I had a lot of free time, and I took a lot of classes that I did not need to take. And one of the classes was like poetry. Another class was jazz theory and arrangement for jazz ensemble. And like, I took a bunch of jazz classes because I was really into jazz and didn't need to take them, took them anyways. So all that knowledge, has now brought me to today, where
Yeah.
like I'm able to fill in the gaps for a lot of people on, like, I can play piano, I can play trumpet, I can play horn, I can produce, I can mix, I can play a synthesizer, I can program drums, like mix, whatever it is, like sing, I sing too, yeah. So I mean, you can fit in the.
So you think
I
all of
guess.
those different parts kind of shaped you as a musician, producer today?
Yeah, I mean, I just think you need a foundation. So I think, like, for better or for worse, not saying one way's better or worse in any way. For me, it's been nice to know, like, oh, that's a C major chord, or this is a F minor 7, because then you can work with it. Like,
Yeah.
you can kind of like.
You know where you can go and what you can do with it.
Yeah, you got more tricks in the bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can, experiment. You're like, oh, well, this famous song uses this chord progression. Maybe I'll mess it up.
Yeah.
Do something else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you feel like any of your classical training kind of affected the music that you make or have been involved with today?
Yeah, well, like nowadays, like, so for this, the label, Toucan Sounds, well, I mean, with the French Horn Rebellion stuff, a lot of indie pop. So generally speaking, I'd say the classical stuff. There was some experimental things we did on our first record, which were largely panned by the critics. So we were like, okay, no more experimental stuff. And so we just made a bunch of indie pop after that, and everything went much better, for the band. But anyways, so now that Toucan is we've gotten into this world of like, which I really enjoyed getting into, is this deep house world, soulful house, or you can just call it house, honestly. I mean, there's so much house music that is jazz related.
Yeah, for sure,
And,
absolutely.
extended jazz, extended improvisation sections, and so like I've lately been using a lot of those, a lot of that, those bags of tricks. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
and those records.
Oh yeah. So a lot of the new like Toucan stuff, I'll end up being the performer a lot of the times on piano or trumpet or whatever, this and that, and then like getting other guys in too and just making it a whole. Yeah, it's fun. It's been cool. Yeah. So but using that. So the answer to the question was right is about that training, how that's been working with me now, is that I think if I didn't have that training, I would not be able to participate in the deep house, jazzy house
In the same way.
world. No,
Yeah.
I wouldn't understand it.
Do you think that a lot of the producers that you kind of are collaborating with on new stuff don't have the same kind of music theory knowledge and experience there, where you're kind of filling an actual gap between that as well?
It's just so wide because people today get into music for so many different reasons.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like some folks get into it because they're DJs and they love music and they like to select. Then there's other folks that get into it because they play an instrument and then they want to DJ. Like I could tell you right now, I'm working with one person that is a full-on jazz piano player. That's really what they are, and they could care less about things like arrangement, production, mixing, even songwriting.
Yeah.
They could really care less about
They just
that
want to
stuff.
jam out.
They just really just want to jam.
Yeah.
So then I put my hat on of like, okay,
Let's reel this in real quick.
you gotta like make a plan.
Yeah, let's create a structure to this real quick.
Exactly. It's like making all this great stuff and we're pressing the record buttons. Just gotta organize it.
I think that's the beautiful thing about collaboration, especially nowadays, is I think it's so much easier for people to dive into it that you do get such a broad range of people that you can work with. Like people who are just great like session players or who just want to play an instrument and being able to pull parts from that. People who are just like great organizers and arrangers who you can come in and do that, or really good at drums and rhythms who can pull those pieces together. And I will say, like with all the collaborations that I've done, I'm sure even more so for you, like I'm able to pull a different part of my artistic abilities, be working with these different people because I'm almost forced to try to balance out the production in a way.
Totally. That's what's fun about being the producer role, I think, is that you can you're a little bit one step above it.
Yeah.
Which, talking about like the karmic balance of the spirit, it's just like when you're always on the creation zone,
Yeah.
and it's your soul that's being put in front of people to judge, it's like it can ultimately be like over time, very damaging to you as an individual and exhausting. So when you are sometimes playing the producer role, like I aspire to be balanced, is that sometimes on the producer role, and my job is to elevate whatever, whoever I'm working with spirit and what their soul, that like what's inside that is special about them, and let people know about it. Like
I love that.
It's like dive in there. Where then sometimes though you have to do it yourself too. It's a mix. So the karmic balance of these things, I guess.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Something like that.
Just making me think about a lot of previous scenarios in my producer career.
Oh yeah.
For better and worse, I'm sure.
I was like, oh man, it's right though. Like when you're producing another artist, so like as a producer, you want to tap into them and bring out stuff that they wouldn't normally bring out because it makes for better content. So it's like, you want to dive into that and be like, cool, like I can take risks with your story now, and like, that's kind of what was always my approach to like when I was working with other artists as a producer, and it's like,
well, you're a great producer, man.
Thanks.
You're crazy good. That's
thank
insane.
you. Appreciate that.
This guy's insane.
Facts.
You too, Rich.
I mean, he's way better than me, but this is the one time you'll get that, Lefty.
Sure.
I mean, he's like a whiz kid.
Oh, he's crazy, yeah.
The first time I heard your Lefty productions, I was like, what?
Yeah, actually, I was gonna mention something that was really funny. Was when I started doing Lefty production and remixes, you had reached out to me for a French Horn Rebellion remix.
Yeah.
And we started chatting, and I was like, do you remember French Horn Rebellion did a remix in like 2006?
Yeah.
And you're like, that was the first remix we did for my old band, Ivy
Yeah.
League, back in the
That's
day.
awesome.
We
Oh
did
shit,
a
I didn't
remix
know
for Ivy
that.
League.
That's
super
dope.
funny, yeah.
It's not a bad remix too, actually.
No, it was really fun. It was a super fun, light, like twee indie pop record. You guys gave it
Yeah.
a fun little bouncy.
That was such a funny era. Like
I won't
was
lie,
reading-
I had a bunch of it before, because I met you at like a holiday Christmas drinking thing in Greenpoint for the first time. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
And the
okay.
first
Oh,
time
yeah, the Christmas bar.
The Christmas bar.
Yeah,
And I had
yeah.
from the blog era a bunch of your tracks that were like still in my Serato crates, I think, from French
Nice.
Horn Rebellion. I loved your guys' stuff.
Hey, thanks, man. Well, we gotta the blog house era. That's an interesting question in some ways. Is that some folks from our era, they either were like, look, man, this is just the music we make, and we're just gonna make music forever.
Yeah.
And then there's others that have gone on to do other things.
Way different things. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
why I was curious about your music progression, because again, like you were saying, a lot of people stayed in that blog house stuff, and that was do or die with that. But
Yeah.
a lot of the artists that came from that blog house era are making wildly different and
Yeah.
all over the place as far
Yeah.
as genres.
I mean, it's been crazy to catch up with folks and what they're doing, and yeah.
Aren't you guys still doing some stuff with the French Horn Rebellion? I feel like I saw a recent
Yeah.
announcement.
So we're doing, so we had a few shows this year, which were really fun. We played the Sultan Room a few times. We had a residency on the rooftop of the Sultan Room, which was really, really awesome.
Nice.
And we have singles that we've been putting out. And in fact, we had some really fun ones. Like this year, we put out a track with this artist named Sima Funk, collaborative, this guy from Cuba, really fun track called Yajege. And then we put out a track with this artist from the Netherlands named Sine, which did pretty good actually. It was on the Spotify New Disco official playlist.
Sick, hell yeah.
It's been getting some streams and stuff. And then we.
Are you self-releasing all the French Horn stuff on Toucan?
So the Toucan sphere of world of things is it's the label. We have a label, so we can we can do whatever we want.
Whatever you want, yeah.
So we have.
Proudly was the first release.
Yeah, Lefty was the Toucan's
I
first
know
release.
that. I know
First
that.
one. The license ran up though. He got his master back.
Yes.
Yeah.
That happened.
So now it's
We got
his.
another one now. There's still another one on ice.
Yeah. There's the one with Nikki the Vagabond.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a
yeah,
hot
yeah.
one. That
That's a
was
hot
hot.
one.
Yeah. So anyways, we got these tracks going, but the Toucan, you learn about label, being a label head, is that curation is very important, especially in the dance community.
Facts.
About what's the stuff that's ended up on the label, what does your label represent, why should I care about your label versus other labels, or even the question of the role of a label, what is a label's purpose in the whole thing?
Because I feel like everybody answers that question. That's a very good question. What do you feel like the label's purpose is?
Yeah, so somebody told me after I'd started the label what I think is the best way to describe a label, in my opinion, that now I've been sort of operating this way, which is that a label is it's like an art gallery. And you as a label, you should be able to hang artists on the wall of your gallery, and that artist should be able to stand on its own.
Yeah.
But of course, the art gallery has people that support the art gallery, and there's maybe wine at the art gallery, and there's an entrance fee maybe or whatever. There's a support network around the artists, and so the walls themselves are blank. But even some art galleries have some vibe to them, a little gentle vibe.
For sure, yeah.
So
Always an open bar. That's why I go to the art gallery.
yeah, exactly. you gotta get sauced up before you can enjoy the art,
That's
so you can
it.
experience it.
It's
But
the lubricant.
I think that's a good way to describe what a label can be nowadays.
I like that. I've never heard it in that way. I've heard a similar thing, but I like the idea of the art gallery because that's ultimately what you're doing is you're curating the vibes and the environment and the atmosphere and the culture
Yeah.
around the music.
And you're also the dealer, which is the other side of it, of
Oh.
being the gallery.
That's true because the gallery sells art.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're marketing it, you're selling it.
Yeah.
It is all those things.
That's what I'm saying. But anyways, the point is that I think from the Bloghouse era, trying to carry over those lessons learned is that back in the day, you had Ed Banger and Kitsune, and those my favorite labels is obviously the Mad Decent, which is still relevant, but at least I'm not saying Kitsune is not relevant or Ed Banger, but at the time, it was really they had a visual, they had a look, and it was their artists fit into the label's look.
Yeah.
It's all about the label's look, artists fit into it. And what I've learned is that just doesn't work as I've seen. I don't think that works for this generation of listeners.
I don't think so either. I agree,
Because
yeah.
I think the label is like seen as sort of a negative thing. And like, and I think the label needs to be as transparent, transparent support, like this art gallery idea.
Yeah.
100%.
Like you wouldn't put like a yellow wall, in an art gallery because it'll mess up the colors of
Everything else. Of the work itself.
of the work itself, right? So the Toucan, we have like these little tiny mini little areas. So Toucan's releasing mostly dance, or anything that's techno, disco, or house. Even though it's a wide net, but I kind of call it alternative disco, house, or techno stuff that's a little different, maybe blending of genre.
Yeah.
A lot of, and so there's that, and then we also release indie pop stuff, but the DJs, they're like, indie pop record, what do I do with this? I don't know what this is. So we have Ensemble Records, which is our little imprint for indie pop stuff. And then we just started a little tiny imprint called Wukan Sounds, which is for like ambient music and soundtrack stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because Derek Muro, one of the partners, had a lot of success this year with his project. He was on like Fresh Finds and
Wavebreaker?
yeah, Wavebreaker. So now we're gonna release some of his stuff, which is
Dope.
cool. Yeah.
That's cool.
So
Wu Sounds?
Wukan.
Wuken. Nice.
Yeah, but it's just like, I think like it doesn't even matter almost. It's the same.
Well, just to imprint, to
Yeah.
identify a different style, which I think is good to do because you kind of like, you've got Toucan now you've got the lane really well curated where even though you are doing different kind of genres like disco and techno stuff, they also kind of have a similar feel and sound to it.
Yeah.
But I feel like
Thanks,
you
man.
guys are
Yeah.
also very involved with the process too. And you
Yeah.
get really hands-on in the process for a lot of your releases.
Yeah.
You have the studio, people come in and work out of the studio, you guys release it. So it's kind of like an all-encompassing
Yeah,
project.
so a lot of the stuff maybe like 60 to 70% is stuff we've mixed or mastered or
That's
produced
dope.
or written or something like that.
Yeah.
So but I'm trying actually this year, what I'm hoping to do this year is, which is very exciting, is that we've been getting a lot of really great submissions for the label, to be honest. Really good stuff. And so I'm trying to figure out a way that we can have it be part of the catalog, not do so much like hands-on stuff with it, but that we can have it as part of the flow of stuff. So that's going to be a thing we're doing next year.
Nice.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Any exciting artists coming up that you guys are planning on releasing that you want to mention, maybe?
Oh yeah, you know what I mean?
I'm sure you guys got something cool.
Listen, we got lots of stuff, man. I feel like the top priority, exciting things. Well, like Brandon Markle Holmes, you've worked with him.
Yes.
You've both worked with Brandon. He's always been a priority for us, and like he has a show this Friday, which I don't know if this will air by then, so I was going to mention it.
It
but
probably won't be until after the show. Yeah.
Probably won't be after the show, but he has a show.
But he's playing around quite a bit. these
Yeah, I
days.
feel like it's like a couple times a month at least.
Yeah, so we're trying to get him more live opportunities, and like, cause he's so good live, and
Yeah.
he's just like.
He was actually the first person to record in the studio once we got everything hooked up in here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, nice. Yeah, so Brandon, but like outside of that, I'd say like we have an album that we've signed for Byron the Aquarius, who's this artist down in Alabama, and he has kind of like known for, I don't know if you guys know much about him, or I could tell you about him a little bit, but so he's awesome, Byron, and I'm co-writing, co-producing some of the stuff with him, but that's good. That was one of our first album signings. Byron the Aquarius.
Nice.
And then Dee Diggs is an artist based in Brooklyn. She's got a party called House of Diggs. She's traveling the world constantly. She's played at Berghain Panorama Bar like, I don't know, 5 or 6 times or something. In fact, the Berghain program, they have a program, and in the program, they said Dee Diggs is playing this Saturday. And in fact, we think at Berghain that her single, Toss It, is one of the best singles of the year out on Toucan Sounds.
Oh, that's fire.
And that record got reviewed in DJ Mag, Mix Mag, Resident Advisor, the Berghain thing. Mm-hmm. It's been pressed to wax, and it's like probably sold out at this point. I don't know. We pressed like 300 copies or something, and
Dope.
they're all out there. And
Amazing.
So that's D-Diggs. We signed Felipe Gordon to a publishing deal, which is very exciting. Felipe Gordon.
Oh, yeah, you guys are doing a publishing company now, too.
Yeah, so
All in one, baby. All in house.
Listen, like, you know, what do you need, you know? Yeah. we have a
You know
publishing
what you need?
company.
You need the mechanicals collected, and that's what you guys are doing.
Oh my
now.
gosh. I mean, like, so many artists that we work with, it's like, okay, there's two things. It's called the composition and it's called the master. There's two things. And most people do not know, like, even people that you think, like, you know, but they don't know.
I've met people that have been in the industry for a long time that still don't understand the ins and outs of master versus publishing.
They don't get that. So it's like, okay, so then it's like, sometimes it's just like, all right, we'll just sign the publishing because we want to get the record out, and you are not registered for anything, so we'll just do it. And we have Reservoir, which is like a large publishing company that we have like I guess you could say a co-venture deal or whatever. So they basically do the administrative work.
Nice.
To like register everything everywhere. They do some A&R stuff, like some like connections, you know, through their network. But like at this point, our community is, and I'm like trying not to use the word community because everybody uses it, but our web of writers and producers that we know through the label and in New York City and around the world, like are already pretty awesome. So we've been doing a lot of A&R too, just hooking people up, you know,
Sick.
through the publishing. Yeah, but so this guy Felipe, and then I'm releasing a bunch of singles next year, guys.
I was going to ask, so what's
ready.
next on the horizon
Yeah.
for Robert PM?
I'm releasing a bunch of singles. I'm just wrapping these up. It's hot.
All self-released on Toucan? You're going to reach out to some other labels, or?
I think I'm just gonna self-release it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Nice.
I haven't even approached other labels, to be honest, but well, that's not true. There's whatever. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But some people hit me up.
Yeah.
Some people hit me up, and I gotta think about it. But whatever the case, I got a lot of stuff. I got a new singles with this guy Travis Mendez. You ever heard of this guy? You know Travis? Maybe.
Sounds familiar.
This guy is amazing. He's an incredible co-writer. He's on a lot of big hip hop cuts actually.
Cool.
I met him through like a songwriting camp, and then this guy Kalita. Maybe you heard of him, Kalita.
No,
He's on the new Purple Disco Machine record, and he collaborates with this guy Bosk all the time.
Oh,
So I
okay.
got a
I
new
think I
track
know
with
what you're talking about.
Kalita, which is super awesome, and it's like so fun because he was the guitarist in Fela Kuti's band, and he has his own band called the Super Yamba Band, and they tour all over the United States playing
Wow.
African soul, I guess, and like Fela style.
Fela Soul.
Fela Soul, exactly. And it's amazing because collaborating with him was super fun, and there's a lot of stuff, man. So it's going to be, next year I'll probably have a single out almost every month, I think.
Nice.
How about some touring plans? I know you did some international
Yeah.
touring not too long ago.
Yeah. So no plans right now for touring right now. It's just been like, we're going to finish the studio. We're in the home stretch for the next 6 months.
I know you were looking at November this year for your end date, but I know that's also been pushed back. Are you
Oh
thinking
my
like
gosh.
April, maybe by the springtime, pre-summer? Fingers
Well,
crossed.
Summer kickoff party.
It's gonna be. What's gonna happen is that it's gonna start out as a very DIY space. It's gonna be like a ramp in. We're gonna ease into it.
Yeah.
Because
It's a lot.
it's so much, you guys. Like the cost is in New York is insane. Like it's really crazy. So, it's like, it's just the permits, the time, the construction schedules, the materials, while also running a business that can pay for these things. And then like, but up to this, I mean, it's just been taking forever too. So it's like, yeah, it's going to be a slow
Ramp up.
ramp up. Like we're going to probably have a floor, like a concrete floor on the basement and the first floor, and walls. That will probably be built
That's a good
out.
start. That's a good start for.
And the plumbing, like
Yeah.
the plumbing, the walls, like because the place it was a place called Rye. If you ever been to that restaurant in Williamsburg,
Yeah,
and if you remember, it always smelled like kind of funny in there.
it did.
So there's a reason why. It's because the place needed a lot of work, you know. So we're doing. I can show you guys videos, but we're literally like going into the earth and making the basement lower so that it has a bit of a higher ceiling, of course, but also so that we can get a flat basement, because the basement had been like several different layers over the years.
Yeah.
And the basement was like divided in half by a giant concrete wall. And so, to open it up, that's what everybody does, open it up, you got to open it up. So that means you got to hold the building up with these shoring structures, and then you got to take out the concrete wall and then put in the new foundation and the new supporting structures, and then it's just a whole mess. It's a whole mess. So
Sounds like it.
It's a lot of work, and so I think though by January or February, I think we'll have a floor.
Nice.
On the first floor in the basement, it's a 2-floor space. Yeah, 2 floors. So first floor will be 3 studio spaces and a lobby, and then the basement will be like a performance space and an extra studio. So it's gonna be cool.
Can't wait to see it.
It's gonna be it'll be very DIY at first. Like it'll feel like Bushwick.
Yeah.
I live in Bushwick. This is
Yeah.
perfect.
There
You're
you go.
speaking my language right
I was
now.
gonna say, like,
All my spaces have been
It'll
DIY.
feel like Bushwick.
I was
Bushwick
gonna
is
say-
the norm.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
All my
Bushwick
studio
2008.
spaces have been
Yeah.
DIY
He's
forever.
been
This is the most un-DIY space I've ever been in.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say Bushwick 2008, but
Yeah.
I love Bushwick.
Well, it
now,
hasn't
but-
changed. Just more people live in the Bushwick spaces now, but the spaces themselves haven't changed since 2008.
No.
That's true. That's true. Exactly.
So you have a lot of exciting things coming up next year with the label, with yourself. Why don't you tell everybody who's viewing where they can catch you on social media?
Yeah. So you
and the
can
label.
toucansounds.com. That's a good one. You can follow me personally on Instagram at RobertPM. Instagram/Robert Permo is the handle. And you could definitely sign up for our mailing list. That would be awesome. If anybody out there wants to sign up for our mailing list, that'd be great. So follow us, sign up on our mailing list. It's all available, toucansounds.com. You can go to the website and actually see Lefty on there because we listed and have photos of every artist that we've released,
Nice.
Check it out.
which is exciting.
I want to
But
see what photo
I
you use.
counted it out.
I want to see what photo you used.
It was like 70 some artists that we've worked with now.
That's
Sweet.
sick, man.
Which
Congrats.
is like,
That's
so if you
epic.
go through
I hope
the
you put a little #1 on mine. First release.
the #1
No, I'm
release.
just kidding.
Well, the way it is now is I don't have the web capacity to like make an artist page for everybody, so it just links to your latest release with us. So
Nice. That makes sense.
yeah.
Cool.
So that's where you can check it out.
Sweet. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, of course.
It's a pleasure.
Make sure y'all check out his set. That's going to be the link right below. He's about to drop some heaters, I think, on us.
Let's do it. I got
Definitely.
it. I got my sticks.
Woo!
I'm ready to rock.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Rich Furniss.
And I'm Lefty. Thank you to our guest. We're out of here.